Boom shakalaka. Hey, what is up everyone? Merry Christmas, happy holidays, all the things. Thank you, Ken, for the generous super sticker. Wishing all of you well. Today we're going to do a laid back live stream. So hello and welcome. Just going to talk about what's happening with the Earth, the Sun, the cosmos. We've been discussing this big planetary alignment that's coming up in early January, like January 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th are the key days. And well, now because the planets are always going to do their things, they are coming together in a line. So hello and welcome. And I'm still kind of getting set up here, but it's no concern to you. I just want to make sure everything's good. Live streams are always quite dynamic. A lot of moving pieces and parts to them. So hope you're all doing well from around the world. Saw a lot of people streaming in saying hi from the United States, hey from Germany, hey from Ethiopia, Papua New Guinea, like people from all over. So this is one of the cool things about the internet nowadays, and this channel in particular, because we cover global events, that we really have a global community. And I think there's something special to that. I really think that's great. Yeah, Portugal, New Mexico, France, Illinois, Alberta. I'm on the spaceship right now, so I'm already headed out of the solar system. I figured this planet is crazy enough. It's time to go. I got my ticket to the spaceship. We're having cocktails right now. It's great. And I'm not going to be transmitting for too much longer because once we're out of range, baby. We're moving on to the next system. Hopefully they have some leaders there, some world leaders that actually make sense, and some good people, just hopefully a world that makes sense. There should be at least one of them out there in the cosmos. There should be at least one planet in the universe where things just make sense, because here they certainly don't make sense. So it's not too late to go, but you got to figure out how to get on the spaceship if you want to join. So a lot to talk about today. We're just going to go through it, have fun. We'll do a question and answer because people really like those. So when we get to that part, we will take some questions from the main audience at that moment. So it's going to be a little bit of a luck of the draw if you get your question answered, and you're more likely to get answered if you stay on topic. But then, because this always happens, people attach a question to super thanks, and it makes sense for me to answer those. And there's always so many, that's kind of what I have to do. So if you really want your question answered, you can ask it, like attach it to a super thanks at any time, and I'll go into that list and I'll go through them later on during the Q&A. So that is the idea with that. A lot, and yeah, we're gonna be, there's no muting today. That was fun. Slurpgate. If you know, you know. Okay. So lots been happening. We just had a magnitude 6 earthquake today off the coast of Taiwan. Actually, it might have been a land-based earthquake. No, it was just not even about 500 meters off the coast of Taiwan, of a 6.0. A couple days before that, on the 22nd of December, there was a magnitude 6.5 earthquake that hit Papua New Guinea. We are still right now in a coronal hole high-speed stream. Geomagnetic volatility is elevated. We have some sunspots rotating towards Earth facing at this moment in time. As you can see, you even see this plasma filament here do a bit of a destabilization. It did not launch out. What you'll notice is that the plasma actually routed back into this sunspot. So you see this plasma filament there that's connected to these other ones like this. So they're coming in from the far side, and then watch how it breaks and that plasma funnels into that sunspot. You will also notice right here, rapid growth in this sunspot group. So we could be looking at some solar flares from that in the next 24 hours. It's certainly possible. It would not surprise me. And we have, of course, interstellar object 3I Atlas, still very close to the Earth. This is part of the interstellar cosmic forces. So we have these solar forces that are active. We have these Earth forces, these planetary forces with this alignment that's coming up. and we have these interstellar forces, all of them converging around now to the beginning of January. And the thing is, with synergy, it's not simple addition. So you can't just go 2 + 2 + 2 = 6. Synergy is more like music, where you can take two notes and blend them together and it creates something completely different. And then if you put in a third frequency, it really transforms the landscape, the soundscape, to something much different than you probably were expecting. That's synergy. So it's not simple addition. It's really a completely new creative byproduct. That's what's happening right now. We have this synergy that's forming, this constructive amplification of the energies of the Earth, the Sun, the planets, and the cosmos, these interstellar forces, converging together now, but really strongly early January. And it seems that I think something's going to happen around then. What that is, I cannot say. I also cannot definitively say that. I said I think that something's going to happen around then. But I would not be surprised if we get a high magnitude earthquake. I would not be surprised if we get some sort of big solar storm. So we'll have to wait and see. But we're gonna kind of go through everything in this video. So let's start with our earthquakes. And to do that, we'll go here. Here's the magnitude 6 earthquake that struck off the coast of Taiwan today. Interesting thing about earthquake activity is that it seems to focus, like this is something that you can examine and look into more if you want. I'm just bringing about the observation to you. But it's really interesting how these earthquakes seem to occur where there's a lot of geopolitical tension. It's very bizarre. Don't ask me how that works, the connection or whatever. Don't suspend your disbelief for a moment. But these earthquakes this year have really been popping off where there has been geopolitical tension. Of course, we know that Taiwan has a tremendous amount always because they are the remnant holdouts from the revolution that swept over China. The Democratic Party, they fled to Taiwan. That's why China wants to reintegrate them so they can firmly establish complete hegemony over the culture of China, you could say. I'm not an expert. And also all the chips are made there. That's a big geopolitical flashpoint, hotspot. Japan is undergoing a financial crisis at this moment in time. Tremendous debt to GDP ratio. The yen is inflating away like crazy. They've been really hit hard financially over the past, not even few years, past decades. And they've been getting tons of earthquakes. You go up to Kamchatka, where we had the magnitude 8.8 megaquake. This is connected to Russia. Well, Russia right now is in a war with Ukraine, and it's not necessarily going well. That also occurred right around the time that Vladimir Putin and Donald Trump met in Alaska, which is interesting. So it was nearly the exact same time. It's like within 2 weeks of each other, they had that. And there's just in general, there's been activity all over, but we also had activity up here in March with Burma or Myanmar, and there's some ongoing strife there because of the military occupation. And it's just weird that these biggest earthquakes and most significant ones in terms of population centers too, like this one here, this magnitude 6 striking right near like millions of people makes it more significant, seems to occur near these geopolitical flashpoints and hotspots, and also in time with key events. So, hey, I'm not saying I understand how it works, okay? But that's just an observation, and it's an interesting one. Now, 2 days before that, we had a magnitude 6.5 strike Papua New Guinea. And we see that right here. This was a land-based earthquake. So if you remember, we saw that Schumann burst just about, I think, 3 days before this on the 19th of December. I believe that's the date. We could go back and check. Yeah, it was on the perihelion. So that pre-earthquake signal, not the perihelion, the perigee of 3i Atlas. But that pre-earthquake signal at 25 hertz, you typically are going to see that if it is from a land-based earthquake versus an ocean-based earthquake, because the ocean is very conductive and will absorb this energy unless it's very shallow and or very large. If it's a very shallow earthquake and shallow oceans, and it's large enough, then some of that signal can still bleed through the ocean without being completely absorbed. But land-based earthquakes have no such limitation because the air is very resistive compared to the ocean, and as a result, it can propagate out. So it is interesting that just 3 days after we had that pre-earthquake signal, we did get a magnitude 6.5 from a land-based earthquake here in Papua New Guinea, the biggest earthquake that we've had going back to roughly the 12th or so of December. I think even going back to the 8th, perhaps. Let me look. If we go here, yeah, the 12th of December, because that's when we had our 6.7 aftershock in Japan. And then we see our 6.5 here. So about 10 days in between those two. So you can look at these things and just notice interesting kind of trends and patterns to them. And certainly not all of them are significant. There's going to be times where these patterns kind of bubble up and then they kind of go away. But if you pay attention, you see them. And so we see that simply just here, we're looking at earthquakes, and I did a little speculation with the geopolitical stuff. Well, we have a really good connection between earthquakes and solar activity. So let me show you what's on the sun right now. Not just the 304 angstrom view, but our 211 angstrom view with the 193 angstrom imagery. We see this very large coronal hole here. And hello and welcome everyone. More people still streaming into the live stream on Christmas Eve, so hello. It's awesome that you are all here. Hoping that you are all doing great and fine. This is a gigantic coronal hole, and it looks like a matchup, if Japan and New Zealand were to have babies, if continents and islands could do that, this is what it would look like. Interesting, because we've had a ton of earthquake activity near Japan this past 2 months, going back to November 9th of this year, 2025. And New Zealand is also right at the reoccurrence interval for the Alpine Fault, which is 300 years. Last big earthquake, New Zealand, like magnitude 8 plus on the Alpine Fault, was 1717. And so, this is just another observation. It's not gospel or anything like that. But it's interesting how this thing takes on the shape of these two islands. How those two islands in the first place look like each other, right? They're so similar in terms of their shape and size and everything. Also in their latitude on the Earth. Like there's these weird things that you notice if you really pay attention enough that exist on our planet that show that there's more meaning to things than you would think if you just live in a universe reality which is devoid of meaning, right? There's a lot of meaningful things that exist around the world. But this is a very big coronal hole. We're still in that high-speed stream right now, in fact. So geomagnetic volatility is elevated, and we look at these things for earthquake activity, right? This is going back to the 22nd. We went geoeffective around that time, and guess what? Then we had the 6.5. Then we had the magnitude 6. And the biggest earthquake before that magnitude 6.5, Papua New Guinea on the 22nd, was December 12th. So 10 days. 10 days in between where you don't really get anything, and then boom, then you get your 6.5. So they are clustered in time with this, and we're still in that high-speed stream. Solar wind velocity is still elevated. Density is getting lower and lower by the minute. It's quite fascinating. Here we see our real-time solar wind, and this is going back 30 days. So we can see, if I'm going to turn myself off here really quick, you can see on the right side this is the velocity right here, okay? So this is measuring kilometers per second. Normally, see how it goes down? That's low velocity, like 400 kilometers per second or so. Then it goes up. That's like a high-speed stream impact. Then it goes down, up, down, up, down. Look at just what happened recently. Watch my cursor. This right here stayed elevated now for more than 2 days. This is like 2 days plus here, where it's been at about 700 kilometers per second. It's just now dipping down to 650. But look at all these other times. I mean, this is a fairly long plateau there as well. But if you look here, we went up and we didn't go as far down as below. We were up and then we went up again. So we've been in a very high velocity solar wind regime now for a while. And if you look here, it's when often the high-speed stream ends that then the solar wind density gets very low, and we track that for high magnitude earthquakes. So we see here that our density has been trending lower. We're below 2 now, 2 particles per cubic centimeter. We really want to see less than 1 for big earthquakes. That seems to be kind of a key thing. If you look here, right, this was the 8th of December. Guess what? That's when we had that magnitude 7.6 in Japan. Pretty sure that was on this December 8th. Let's go back here and check. We can go to our 30-day view again, and we'll just significant worldwide. Oh, look at that. December 8th, right there. Who would have thunk? So this stuff really, like if you study this and you make these observational pattern connections, you can start to work with it. It's not, these things aren't one-offs. Because my rule of thumb, I've said this many times, but I'll say it again. My rule of thumb is you don't just notice something once and then roll with it. If you see something twice, you start to pay some attention. When you see it 3, 4, 5, 10 times in a row, or let's say 9 out of 10 times in a row, you know there's something to it. So I really wait until something's been confirmed 3 times before I'm like, okay, let's really research into this. And we've seen this connection between the solar wind density dropping and high magnitude earthquakes a lot more than 3 times. You can go back through the historic records. Some of the biggest earthquakes ever to have ruptured occurred during solar wind density minimums, like anomalously low, either right at that time or just like a day or 2 kind of on either side. So clearly that certain sort of space weather structure exists. Also, just a note, you know, the thumbnail says a storm is coming or approaching. The storm is here in California. We have crazy winds outside my apartment right now, and I'm not even in like the main thrust of this storm that's going across. That's to the north of me in LA. It's also up in NorCal, all the way up through Northern California, going into Oregon, Washington. Huge atmospheric river bomb cyclone is coming through. So these things also affect terrestrial weather here on Earth. It's very interesting. Now, as it relates to our planetary alignment, let's look at our chronograph here, because we will see basically 2 of our main planets coming together as expected. This is a once every 2,338 day cycle approximately. Here we have Venus, there we have Mars. So Venus is moving forward faster than the sun. Mars is moving slower, but the 2 are going to link up. They're already very close to the sun, within just a couple degrees. But they're going to link up early January, creating this planetary alignment. And you'll notice also you can see the Milky Way in the chronograph view right now. So what we're looking at is the sun, but they put this disk over it so we can see the solar wind outflows and solar storms. You notice that things are very quiet right now. The big coronal hole high-speed stream is great, but in terms of any big solar storms, we haven't had any. Also, our boy Ken here is dropping super thanks like crazy. So shout out to our boy Ken, who is really a generous donator today, fueling the Christmas spirit. So thank you so much. It's quite appreciated. If you have questions, make sure to attach a question to it because I'll answer it for sure. So yeah, thank you. But we see this is also lined up with the highest density center of energy in, Big Dog Ken, lined up with the cosmic center. So he's feeling those cosmic energies, man. He's lined up with them as well. Because this is where most of the energy in the galaxy is, the galactic center, or at least closer in towards the center of the galaxy, because we're on the spiral arm. We're quite a ways out. You look out the other direction, yeah, you have some other stars and clusters and such, but then boom, it's void space. Because there's big gaps in between galaxies. And then if you go into a galaxy, there's still mostly just empty space. So think about really how empty it is in between galaxies. In the extragalactic medium, must be very, very basically nothing. You wouldn't want to get trapped out there 10 light years from anything unless you know how to move through space and time quickly. But this is where most of the big stuff is happening, when there's big pulsar bursts or X-ray transients or supernovas or nova explosions or gamma ray bursts, God particles. Any of these, like high energy flux, it's coming from the center of the galaxy. Not only is the sun right now facing the center of the galaxy as viewed from Earth, which makes this Earth relevant, we also have Venus and Mars coming together on the other side of the planet at the same time, early January, creating this alignment. So let's look at that really quick. Big Dog Ken dropping another. I'm not sure where Ken is from, but here we go. Okay, so here is, I think the rain's starting to come down now. Well, the weather just definitely took a turn. I have a big window right here, so I'm looking out. I think it's rain now. Oh yeah. We're making it, Ken is making it rain, baby. Big Dog Ken is making it rain. Okay, so here is what's happening right now. And in our solar system. This is something that you don't see that often. So we have this planetary alignment starting to form. Here we see Earth, we see Venus and Mars on the other side. They're not to scale, but their positions in geometry and everything are, okay? Mercury is also not that far away. It's going to be doing, it's going to be participating in this with its own Cazimi too later in January, if you see that, okay? So it's not just Venus and Mars, it's also Mercury swinging at the last second later in January. We go back to today though, here. Watch when I flip around. Boom, there's Jupiter. So here's the full alignment coming into, clicking into position here. Jupiter, Earth, Mercury, Venus, Mars. Not exact yet. It doesn't need to be for something to happen. It's just this time period from about here to there. So from right now all the way to early February, I would say we're in that zone. Like the time is upon us. So that is, there we go. So we're in it right now. If we kind of zoom back, let's go back to earlier in the year, okay? And we're going to look at another planetary alignment that occurred. So here we have, this is July, okay? And we see that we're going through July right here. Guess what? July 29th is when we had that magnitude 8.8 megaquake. Look at this Neptune, Saturn, Earth, Mars alignment. This only occurs once every 37 years, where Neptune and Saturn are aligned, so that's significant. We have that active right now, too, as well. Earth, though, entering into this alignment between them with Mars, and then we also, on the other side, had this Venus-Jupiter alignment. Check at that. Now, that really went into effect early August, but you see how it's effectively active going from the middle of July to the middle of August. And then we also have Pluto and Uranus there in harmonic 60-degree angles to this main alignment there. Biggest earthquake since 2011 with that planetary alignment. And we were tracking that and we were saying like, hey guys, it looks like something's going to occur, and well, it did. The other thing too is that we picked up interstellar object 3I Atlas in July. So that's another example of one of these convergences where you have solar activity because we're in solar maximum, and you have these coronal holes sweeping across the sun like we have right now, big ones. You have this planetary alignment, and you have this increased interstellar force because of 3i Atlas getting closer and closer. Now, 3i Atlas is closer to the Earth now than it was back in July, but it just entered into our consciousness in July. So there's a lot of our own energy pinging out to 3i Atlas at that time. And if we're speaking about consciousness, that's significant. So sometimes it's not just about the material world and its characteristics, as in it's this close or it's this time window, etc. We are also influencing our reality through our perception, our awareness, where energy flows, where your attention goes. So there was a tremendous amount of attention on 3i Atlas when it was first picked up, July 1st. And then that month, at the very end of the month, July 29th, when we had that alignment and these big coronal holes on the sun as well, loading the Earth with energy during solar maximum, boom, magnitude 8.8 megaquake. We're still getting earthquake activity in Kamchatka as a result of that, as of right now. Now, if we go to our, I need to bump this up or something. Maybe this will help. If we go to our 10-day plot here, we can see the geomagnetic volatility that exists for the past 10 days. And if you watch my cursor, you see this bump right there. Nothing too crazy, though we did get 1 hour of G1 geomagnetic storming there back on the 18th of December. But look how we've been elevated now in active conditions for more than 2 days. Actually, about 2 days right here. So some of these values are lower than 4, but in general, we get quite a lot over 4, in between 4 and 5. So this is not a huge geomagnetic storm, but people have been seeing aurora in northerly and southerly latitudes. And it's been very active. It's just like another energy modifier added onto this. So this is just further adding energy into this equation. Now we look at our true sky position here with the constellations. We looked at it already with Solar System Scope. We saw the chronograph, but just to show you the degree angles right now, we see the sun there at 5 degrees of Sagittarius. We just entered into the constellation Sagittarius. Here we see Venus at 2 degrees. There's Mars at 9. So if you're wondering, because there's 300, you could break it down 360 degrees. If you do that, you see that Mercury, Venus, Sun, and Mars are all very close together. And if you go forward, day by day, you will see that they get closer together. And then on about the 7th of January is when they are all aligned perfectly. We do get this Venus Cazimi there on the 5th of January, so slightly before, but then effectively we get this triple Cazimi, or this double Cazimi right there, Venus, Mars, and the Sun on the 7th of January. And Mercury, again, 9 degrees away. Look how close Pluto is now too. So this is also, all these guys are approaching Pluto. So this is a once every year transit where they'll get that burst of Plutonian energy coming through all their Pluto conjunctions. And so what will happen is Venus will keep moving ahead. She'll be the first one to hit Pluto, like this. Mars, the Sun will be next. And then Mercury will follow up and Mars will be last. But they're all going to do that transit. And you'll notice on the other side, there's Jupiter. Jupiter following up during this whole thing with this strong opposition. I mean, just look at some of the geometries we have active at this time. The moon here, we see that we get this grand cross. We have these oppositions. We have these trines. Sextiles are active. The Uranus, Neptune, Saturn, Pluto, Basket right there, Minor Grand Trine. So there's a lot of geometry active right now in the solar system, which is something that, yes, it happens. We track that across time, but you add that into the fact that's solar maximum and not solar minimum. You add into the fact that 2025 has been one of the strongest years on record seismically. This, I think, like the 7th strongest year, because you have 5 years with earthquakes that were larger. And then you also have 1906, which is slightly stronger in terms of earthquake activity. And you have the interstellar 3i Atlas effect, bringing in this unique vibration into the solar system and behaving in ways that is pretty anomalous. We have a new astronomer's telegram out on 3i Atlas talking about its jet structure. So let's just go through this briefly. And Big Dog Ken is dropping, man. He hates money. He just really doesn't like it. So thank you, Ken. Merry Christmas. Wishing the best. God bless. We'll talk about you more during the Q&A for sure. So jets in the inner coma of comet 3i Atlas. Interstellar comet 3i Atlas, after passing perihelion on October 25th, reached its minimum distance from Earth on the 19th of December. Near perigee, the comet was observed by HST on November 30th with the resolution of 56 kilometers per pixel. We analyzed images taken and basically observed the different structures of 3i Atlas. So they saw the anti-tail, the tail, respectively, with the solar and anti-solar directions, exactly or nearly exactly aligned with the vector of the sun. And they also noticed 6 faint, straight jets propagating outwards from the nucleus, losing collimation after a few thousand kilometers due to the diffusion of dust in the inner coma. The jets apparently form 3 pairs symmetrical with respect to a direction assumed to be that of the nucleus's spin origin, with each pair representing the sides of the emission cone of its active area located on the rotating nucleus. Measurements at 2,000 kilometers and 3,000 kilometers from the optocenter, assumed to be the nucleus, allowed the identification of these symmetrical jet pairs at those angles. We'll look at the data and graphics that they provided. There's some uncertainty with exactly this, but overall, the results confirm the initial estimates that there is recent activity that is originating from a hemisphere of the nucleus opposite to the one active during the July observations. So let's look at our jets here for 3i Atlas. Here we have the graphic, the PDF. And jets in the inner coma of 3i Atlas. So again, it's like 56 or so kilometers per pixel. So we're doing a pretty high-res look at the inner coma of 3i Atlas, but we're not seeing the nucleus. There's actually a paper that just came out that made some calculations saying that the nucleus is about 1 kilometer in diameter or so. You have to take all these things with a grain of salt, but that is an interesting new data point to at least consider. But here we see the intensity profiles for a full 360 degrees around 3i Atlas. And so we see the tail very clearly there with a very high intensity sticking out at a degree angle of 300, almost exactly 180 degrees from that. We see our anti-tail right here. Look at this though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 jets coming off of it. And here they mark it very clearly. So we see our tail, we see our anti-tail, we have jet 3 there, jet 2, and jet 1 going out a few thousand kilometers before dispersing. So this is pretty cool that we have this this new imagery and analysis of 3i Atlas showing 6 jets and 2 tails. So this is more than normal for sure. That's why it's an interstellar object. We don't know exactly its properties, where it's from, but it's likely not just like ice and dust, which people think comets are, and that's typically what they are, but you can also have more metallic minerals and such. But depending on what created this object, like a fragment of a planet, let's say, maybe it is similar to a comet, but from created from a reservoir material slightly different than that around our solar system, it's going to have different properties. And well, 6 jets blasted off this thing. So they are just spewing interstellar material all across our solar system right now. That's just a simple matter of it. Now, is that going to interact with Earth? Like, that's a whole question and thought process you can go through. But undoubtedly, this thing has been dispersing itself across the solar system, and considering it's from a different star system or wherever, it's not from our solar system. We know that based off the trajectory of it and its speed, coming at extremely high velocities and coming in with an orbit that was only slightly deflected by its closest approach to the sun. Typically, there's a big deflection because the gravity of the sun is so high. This only had a slight deflection, really minor. We know it's not from our solar system. It's going to carry a different vibration and resonance and frequency to it. Now it's spewing its material all across the solar system, and that's going to widen, I would think, that unique vibrational characteristic that it has across the inner solar system. And at that time, all the inner planets are coming into an alignment. So they're not totally random. We have Mars and Venus and Mercury all aligning on the other side of the sun, whereas the next 2 planets closest in would be Earth and Jupiter, also in that alignment. So there is this structuring and synchronicity and coherence that's being established completely within the inner solar system as this interstellar object is flying through the inner solar system at the exact same time. Very interesting. So I think there's something significant to that. But we're just going to have to wait to see what it is. We've done a fairly good job forecasting high magnitude earthquakes here and doing a fairly good job forecasting solar storms and geomagnetic storms, even some long-range forecasting for the space weather using planetary geometry. That's been fairly accurate. I can't claim to be Nostradamus or anything, but with something like this where there's so many different pieces that are clicking together, once you start adding not just 1 or 2 notes together, but 5 notes, right? I think the resulting frequency is going to be too hard to pin down. And the best thing we can do is just to sit back and be prepared, be aware, be prepared, but also sit back and enjoy the show to see what happens. Because we don't know what's going to happen. It's likely going to be different than any of us think. But we'll have to wait and see. That's kind of my thing right now. We're going to have to wait and see how this manifests. And then shortly after we have this alignment with Jupiter, Earth, the Sun, Mercury, Venus, and Mars, in February we have the Saturn-Neptune conjunction, first time in 35 to 37 years or so. We also have some other imagery of 3i Atlas we can look at right here. This is November 29th, and then also December 19th, it's perigee. It's closest to the sun. So we see our sun vector there. And so this is the direction of the sun. And therefore, you're going to see the sunward facing tail on this side. You're going to see the anti-tail on the other side. This is a composite of multiple images. We see 36 images, the exposure time being 1,440 seconds there. Here, 167 images, exposure time, 6,680 seconds. So these are very high resolution looks at 3i Atlas. The stacking is absolutely key as it relates to removing atmospheric distortion from the sky, from the imagery. You need long exposure photos to resolve those faint details, like the tail, and some of these other, like these jets and things. You need to get long light exposures because the amount of photons you're getting from those features light photons, right, is a lot less than from the main coma here. And then you need multiple exposures to improve the signal to noise ratio. So you need the long exposures to get the faint details, and then you need multiple of those exposures stacked together to remove the noise of the atmosphere and anything else, and to stack those faint details on top of one each other such that they can actually then be resolved. That's how that works. Here we have both. So these images are pretty zoomed in, as you can tell. We're not really punched out or zoomed out to see the anti-tail and the tail. We're very clearly here looking at the coma. We have the contour maps on this side. Bit of an interesting change in morphology here of the coma based on the contour maps at least. It looks like 3i Atlas went from more rounded to more elongated with its coma. A little sleeker it looks like. Over the past, this is what, about 20 days or so. And this imagery down here is just from 5 days ago, roughly. You know, perigee was just less than a week ago. So this is fairly recent imagery here. Interesting things are still happening with 3i Atlas, but there is a fairly broad consensus across all the different groups looking at it. Amateur astronomers from around the world, more professional organizations, all of them publishing their data in a decentralized manner. If you are someone that is looking across all of that and not just a single source, like I'm doing, I'm looking at all the different feeds, then you see how this is starting to come to a consensus, which would be the fact that it has, it's displaying unusual jet activity. It does not appear to be, it's quite a bit different than a normal comet. And I think you really have to kind of just go even beyond just like the normal astronomical stuff and think just like as Nikola Tesla would with the frequency and the vibration, everything. The way I see it is like, okay, we've detected all these anomalies. Great. That is just scientific confirmation that this thing is freaking weird. We know it's different. Okay, that has unique frequency to it. Now we can think a little bit more in this broader, more metaphysical sense about how is that going to interact with the solar system, the planets, the sun. We've seen a lot of solar activity line up with 3i Atlas. We saw that unique Earth burst, the Schumann burst at 25 hertz, the day of the perigee on the 19th. Whether that's from the Earth, that seems to be the case. But was it bursting a signal out because of 3i Atlas being nearby at its closest? Like, it's just interesting. We don't know. You can't say, anyone that says definitively they know what this is, I think, a bit much. But we also do know certain things, and we know the processing steps needed to take good imagery of this thing, and there's certain physics that we know, right? You know that this thing can't be rotating every minute because it would rip itself to shreds due to shear forces. Any sort of gas that's moving through space very quickly actually ionizes into a plasma. The moment it ionizes, it's not going to be rotating because it's going to be subject to electromagnetic forces and now follow along those magnetic field lines. So there's certain things that we do know that if someone's telling you some of this stuff, you're like, okay, you just don't know physics or you just don't understand some of this stuff, unfortunately, whatever. But we know that there's so many anomalies with it. It is quite bizarre. So then I then carry that to the next step of how do we think about this more metaphysically. And so I think it's been affecting us. And it's interesting that we observe it July 1st. We have this planetary alignment. Mid-July to early August, we get the strongest earthquake since 2011, the magnitude 8.8 megaquake, Kamchatka. We've been having elevated earthquake activity ever since. We're already pumped up with energy because of solar maximum. I've said all the things at this point. Let me show you the sunspots that we have, because we have this new sunspot group that's growing pretty rapidly. I showed you earlier, but let me show you again. Watch right here. Compact, dense, active. This is happening now just in the past 24 hours. This is a fairly sizable sunspot group there, kind of spread out though, but rotating towards Earth center and direct at this moment in time. But this is quite interesting. That's a fairly fast growth, and it's staying compact and dense. In fact, this is like maybe 4 hours out of date right now. So I'm not sure what the last 4 hours look like, but it's going to look a little different than that. Oh, I also meant to show you this. We had Kilauea erupt last night, episode 39. So I was awake when it was happening, but it was too late to do a live stream. Here we have Kilauea erupting on the big island of Hawaii. This is episode 39. And interesting how if you look back through the record, these episodes of activity at Kilauea have been kind of lining up with geomagnetic activity when it's been elevated. So it's been multiple times now where we've had a geostorm, solar storm impact or a coronal hole high-speed stream creating a geomagnetic storm, and then all of a sudden, boom, Kilauea goes off. Now, Kilauea has been going off with this eruptive episodic activity roughly every like 14 days or so, about every 2 weeks. It's a little bit more frequent than that, maybe every 12 days or so, it varies. But if you, since when I was there in August, I actually used that to my benefit to go there to know when it was going to erupt, intuitively. I was like, okay, I see this solar storm impact coming in. I bet when the solar storm impacts and we had the geostorm, I bet that's when Kilauea goes off. Now, Kilauea was already pretty close to its maximum fill with the chamber and the tilt data that you can look at. But sometimes it can kind of lengthen out or shorten. And I was like, I bet it happens the same day as the storm. That's what happened. So that's been going on now since August. Not 100% of the time, but a lot, like a majority of these eruptions at Kilauea have lined up with interesting space weather impacts, which is it's just interesting. But the thing is, we can use Hawaii right now as a perfect test case to see if there is a connection between the Earth and the space environment for volcanoes, because Hawaii is being episodic with its activity. Other volcanoes have just been going and then they go quiet, whereas Kilauea has been fairly regular. So it's been able to establish a resonance and a rhythm with the space environment, it seems. We've also seen Kilauea go off when there's been big solar flares and the light photons hit. Big Dog Ken with another super thanks. This guy's going to be famous by the end of this video. Thanks, bro. So really incredible stuff happening at Kilauea. This was not a big eruption like the last one. Last one was the biggest, but these still reached over 1,200 feet tall. So these are still big lava fountains at Kilauea. We have another view of it here I can show you. And yeah, this is a nice one right here. And here we have another view of Kilauea erupting. This is local time right there. So that's Hawaii local time. But that was pretty exciting. Now, before we get to the Q&A, which we're going to get to basically now, I want to show you, I want to make a channel announcement. So let's do that. By the way, we now have a new product available on earthevolution.com, and this is the hoodie that you guys have all been requesting. So here it is right here, the Boom Shakalaka hoodie. It's almost identical to the one that I have. The one that I have is a slight deviation because that was like the test run model. And then I updated the graphic a little bit, but it is now live on the website. So if you like that hoodie, you can have it now. If you're in the US, this is US only. It says Earth Evolution on the back. It's not too large or anything with the text. It's quite nice. But it's a conversation starter. When I've worn this out and about, I've had people ask me about it. So it's 100% cotton, super comfortable. I think it fits great. It's just like a relaxed, comfortable fit. I think it's very soft. So I like to wear it at night when I'm just kind of like hanging around because I don't want anything like too rough on the skin. and it goes all the way up to triple XL in the size. And yeah, this is available now. So if you've been wanting to pick up the Boom Shakalaka hoodie, you can do so. Let's do a zoom in here of this for you all, so you can see what it looks like. So we have the earthquake splitting apart the ground, the volcano, the comets, the meteor, the solar explosion, the UFOs, the moon, everything. It really is a fantastic conversation starter. So yeah, if I know a lot of you, after I wore that in a recent video, they're like, I need that hoodie. Well, I was figuring out how to make it available. So I had to update the design just a little bit, tweak it just a tiny bit to make it so it'd be totally fine to sell. And well, this is what we got. So yeah, wanted to show that to you all. And let's go back to our earthquakes, just make sure nothing crazy has happened since I started streaming. We've had a bit of 2 earthquakes here on the Mid-Atlantic Ridge south of Iceland. Also some earthquake activity around Guam recently, which is interesting. So we switched our let's switch to our 30-day view here. So some activity around Guam. 5.7 today being the biggest just to the south, but also we see this 5.0 there, a 5.7 right there. We can sort this by largest magnitude. That's going back to the 15th of December. And keep in mind, from the 12th of December to the 22nd of December, we didn't have anything over magnitude 6. So the highest magnitude earthquakes were that 5.6, 5.7, 5.8, 5.9 range. So here we have 2 5.7s back to back. We had the magnitude 6 in Taiwan, all the earthquakes there in Japan. So this whole ring of fire is very, very active right now. Meanwhile, it's fairly quiet here on the west coast of the US. And also there's been some activity, but it's been fairly quiet in South America too. So there has been an imbalance in activity across the ring of fire this year, which is interesting to note. But what that ultimately means, we'll just have to wait and see. We will have to wait and see. So with that, let us do our question and answer. And let's see what we got here. Before, I'm not going to go straight into the super thanks questions. I want to take some from the audience first, but I will get to these in just a moment. Okay, so if you have a question, now's the time to ask in the super chat or in the live stream chat, and I'll get to it, especially if it's basically not off topic, like super off topic. And Amali is asking, do you think the activity of earthquakes has increased over the past decade? Actually, in many ways, it's done the opposite. So there's different ways to measure earthquake activity. You can measure it by like the frequency of a certain magnitude. So let's say how many magnitude 6.5 earthquakes have there been? You can look at also like how many magnitude 8+ earthquakes have there been? And that's useful because each distinct earthquake event I think is important and significant. You can also look at it in terms of global or in terms of seismic energy release, which scales completely differently. It's logarithmic. So in that case, just that magnitude 8.8 megaquake has made it so the answer to your question is yes, because we had the magnitude 9.1 Japan 2011. Then we didn't have any earthquakes bigger than magnitude 8.8 since then, and then we have in 2025 the 8.8. So in terms of seismic energy release, that is totally well and beyond the other stuff. And I can show you, I have a graphic here for that. Let's see, and I showed this before, but let me pull it up again. But if we talk about the frequency, then that's a different equation. So here we see our global seismic energy release going from 1900 to 2025. I'm going to turn myself off. Well, I'm going to move way off to the side here because I can't show you my cursor here with this graphic, the way I pulled it up. This is 2011. Look at how seismic energy was going down until there, 2025. Look at how low it was for 2024. That's wild. Really low for 2024 in terms of seismic energy release. Now, we had a magnitude A+ earthquake in 2021. So going from 2021 to 2025, things were definitely on a downtrend in terms of the high magnitude earthquakes and the seismic energy release. So we can't say that it was increasing. But now it does appear to be ramping back up, but just starting this year. Just starting this year, that's really kind of been the deal. And yeah, we're going to get to it, but we'd like to say thank you to everyone that's put in a super thanks during this live stream. It's very generous of you in the holiday spirit. It's really appreciated, so thank you all so much. To just share a little bit, like basically, YouTube is able to pay to keep a roof over my head and food in my belly, which is a great thing. All the money that I'm making through YouTube basically is getting put into a fund so I can eventually get different observatories built out. Earth observatories for Schumann resonances, solar observatories for solar flares, and also like astronomical observatories for comets and more. So, I'm a young guy. It's going to take some time to do this, but that's I'm not wasting my money on sneakers and stuff. Like basically the money is being put into funds to eventually make that a possibility. So I'm never asking for donations or anything. People just do it. But if you are someone that's donating, that's where it's going in the grand scheme. So an independent data source for you guys basically through my efforts. And I'm sure I'll have to hire people to help me with that, some scientists and more to get that going. So thanks Kali for doing a thank you on my behalf, and that's great. So I'll keep this pretty simple here. Your question is, did Avi Loeb really change his views on 3i Atlas now being a comet? See, this is all these thoughts are mine and my own, okay? And I've never met the guy, so I'm not really making any statement as to who he is or anything like that. I'll do my best to be very grounded here, okay? But he never specifically said that like it's 100% aliens. So there's that, or 100% technological. He gave it the scale rating and everything, but he certainly was beating the drum as to all these different possibilities of it being alien or technological. And there's a lot of interviews that he did where someone's like, "Is it a comet?" and he like steers it back to the alien angle. And so it just kind of created a lot of confusion in general. And that's what some people like to do, because then they can work with that kind of confusion and chaos. And so, you never really said, guys, it's 100% alien, watch out. But there was enough, if 90% of the conversation was focused on aliens and technology, and only 10% was it being like a natural comet, though you never said, guys, it's 100% alien, that's effectively what your actions are showing, because that's where you're spending the majority of your focus and your interest and your communication efforts. So I guess recently came out and, they're like, is it a comet? There's like some News Nation interview or something. And he said, yeah, it's almost certainly that. And I personally really don't care. I think he did a good job bringing a lot of awareness to these things. I think he did a good job bringing a lot of different ideas to the table and bringing different research papers from these scientific silos more to the public. So that's awesome. And yeah, I've been open to all the ideas from the start, but I've always thought it was a natural ISO, and I'm thinking more metaphysical with this thing already. So right from the get-go, I'm thinking about consciousness, frequency, vibration. That's my default bias, I guess you could say. But once you have a little experience of frequency and vibration and how that affects consciousness and all that, it's kind of where you stay. You don't really go back. Once the doors open, right? Once you take the kids to Disneyland, they don't want to not come back, okay? You can't go back from Disneyland or Disney World. It's like a one-way trip. Once you open up that cosmos, there's no saying, oh, we're never going back. It didn't exist. That's a fake memory that you have. No, they're like, take me back to Disneyland every single year. That's kind of my thoughts. So he never really necessarily changed his views, but he was all over the place with what he was talking about. I think it's too much for some people to handle, right? Not everyone's an expert on this stuff. A lot of people just believe everything they hear. So there's all these psychological aspects to it as well. Right now, in general, is just a time period of confusion and illusion and more. So there's so much fake information going out there right now that's proliferating. People that are just, there's just so much craziness that I think we're all just wrapped up in it. So I hope that answers your question. You know, I've been really wanting to, and I have been shifting my mindset away from when there are little frustrations that pop up, because I am human, right? And there's certain things I see that can frustrate me, like someone getting something totally wrong or something like that, or someone, you know, just attacking you online, things of this nature, whatever. I've been shifting my mindset of like, okay, this can be frustrating, let's say, but is there a way to look at this individual or these events in a positive light? And so in the case of Avi Loeb, his cultivating interest in our space environment is the positive light for that. So I'm choosing to look at these things, even though I may disagree with a lot of people on certain things. Not a lot of people, but certain people on certain things. I'm not going to go out there on a crusade. I'm less about crusades right now. I'm more just about like, great, I'm glad you did this. I'll take it the rest of the way. That's kind of where I am with this. Take one more question from the audience before we get to the super thanks. So Krista is asking, can the extra jets coming off of 3i Atlas be tunnels or caves within the comet itself? And the wind passing across the surface by funneling those jets? So we will go back here. So we don't know what the surface looks like for 3i Atlas. We're totally blind. All we see is the coma, right? We have no view of the nucleus or the surface or anything like that. To create these jets, though, there needs to be some like rapid movement of material off of the thing. So typically, the way that works, and we have seen this with like comets within our solar system, is that you have these materials that can sublimate easily. Let's say like carbon dioxide or water or methane or whatever, that can go from ice to gas really quickly. Actually at hypersonic velocities, like really fast, like extremely fast. Think like a fire extinguisher times 100, okay? Those are going to create pathways and grooves because they're not necessarily right there on the surface. They're embedded within the matrix of dust and other materials of the comet, or in this case, an object. So there likely are, tubes and tunnels and caves, I guess you could say, with interstellar object 3i Atlas. We see a lot of interesting topography with the comets that we have gone close to in our solar system before. So, but there's no wind in space. There's solar wind, right? But there's no wind in space. So it's not necessarily about wind passing across the surface, funneling the jets. It's more about their location, how they're heating, and how they're naturally collimating together. Because often this process is not homogeneous across the surface, it's hyper-localized. So with 3i Atlas, it does seem to be more widespread because we're not just getting 1 or 2 jets, we're getting, in this example, 6 right here, plus also the anti-tail and the tail. So I hope that answers your question. We are now going to get to the super thanks questions. And A lot of new members. Thank you all for being here, for gifting some memberships. Ken, Big Dog Ken, you dropped a lot of super thanks, so I'm not going to be able to show all of them because you did a lot of them. Simone, thank you for the super sticker. And a question from Jay. Happy holidays. Slightly off topic, but I'd love to know what software you're using to show your screen as your background. It looks amazing. This is all open broadcasting software. So yeah, it's pretty easy to learn how to run. And for example, if I go here, I don't think this should all be fine if I do this. But for example, this is what I'm looking at. Though I'm actually looking, and I have a separate screen that it goes to. But open broadcasting software can let you really handle a lot of different data layers and such. And so it's absolutely a key part of my workflow, though I also use Photoshop, Premiere Pro. I'm streaming with a variety of platforms and apps and such. So, but OBS is key. Learn OBS and the whole world opens up to you. Thank you. Ion, haven't seen you in a while, but glad to see that you're here. Thank you for the super thanks. Thank you for all your effort. We are very grateful. Hope the source will bring everything that we need. Yes, that is the goal, the hope, the plan, the dream. It is happening. John, hello from the UK. Stefan, Merry Christmas to you. Do you ever have anyone do rune readings using the imagery from the solar surface? No, but I do have experience with the Elder Futhark runes. I'm not sure if that's what you mean. Well, whether you mean like younger or elder, but I did quite a big study of the Elder Futhark back in 2021, 2022, 23. It's been a while though, but that's interesting. That could be a whole channel. Someone could create a channel doing rune readings. I know there's all these tarot channels out there. I actually thought about making my own channel for rune readings, but I just never got around to it. But that'd be cool to see someone do. Then you incorporate, hey, we saw this rune on this weather pattern, or this rune on the sun with a coronal hole. Like there's a whole range of possibilities for these things. So thank you. Janine is asking, another person from the UK, hello. I wanted to thank you for your content. Since watching your channel, you've educated me in so many areas. Your passion and energy radiates from you, which is very inspiring. Thank you. Merry Christmas. Well, thank you, Janine, quite a lot for that. It's much appreciated. Thanks for the quid. And I wish you and all yours a very Merry Christmas as well. Question from Nana. Thanks for the super thanks. Happy holidays. I'm excited for the planetary alignment on my birthday. Ooh, whew. Keep up the great work out there in our corner of the cosmos. Well, I wish you the best with that. That's going to be quite fun. So I'm sure you'll have a good time of that. You're in the thick of it. So enjoy this, like the last moments of quiet for you, you could say. So enjoy that. And Yahira, thanks for the super sticker. Sherry, longtime supporter, thank you for the super sticker as well. God bless. Check your YouTube community posts. Must see picture of the sun in there. Yeah, there's so many, it's hard to keep track of them all, but there is a community section on my page if you're aware of that. I'll go through that later. Ken, Big Dog Ken. Anthony McNabb, Merry Christmas, everyone. Thank you for that message and for your cheer. Carla, what do you think 2026 brings with the fire horse year, high solar activity, and hexagram 13, fellowship with others as the governing hexagram? I think next year's gonna be really big, and I think the astrologers are onto something. I think we got a lot of this going on. So. I think it's going to be a great year for anyone that's aligned with their purpose, that pushes that forward into the world. And I don't think it's going to be the best year for other people that are caught up in the currents and vortices of others or groups or just things of that nature. So I think if you listen to your heart and your higher spirit, you'll be guided to where you need to go, and you'll find yourself sliding around a lot of the chaos that will occur next year, rather than being caught in it. So that's really what I think. But yeah, it seems like it's going to be a big fire year. So get ready. And Leonardo, Leonard, thank you for the super sticker. Robin, Merry Christmas. Thank you for the super thanks, and you're quite welcome. Here to help you guys all out. And you know, these are my thoughts and opinions, ideas. I show you a lot of data, but I'm also sharing with like a live stream more so some of my just thoughts and ideas. Take that or leave it, but I always very clearly quantify that. And I'm also doing a lot of due diligence. So I'm not presenting things on the channel that are clearly fake. Like some people don't have like a good filter. I see this with certain channels where they'll present like a clearly like some fake AI article news story, and then they run with it like it's real. I'm like, guys, come on, like this is clearly bogus. Can you find the source? No, like spend 5 minutes looking for it. If you can't find it, because I'm not trying to waste your time, right? I'm always thinking about your time in terms of how can I make this engaging. Like a live stream's a little different because people want to hang out and chill, whatever. But as it relates to my videos and like, let's say a podcast, if we're referencing material, like I have this big Randall Carlson podcast coming out soon, you know, he mentioned variety of things throughout the podcast. I found that material and layered it in so you can see it. And then there's a couple moments where there's like ums and ahs and huffing and puffing, whatever. You know, I cut all that out because every second's valuable. So if someone's going to waste your time with like this fake AI story and they can't vet it for 5 minutes, you wonder why. It's like, well, are you doing this for engagement, or do you actually care about the viewer, what you're putting into their brain? Is it high quality stuff or is it junk? Are you thinking about them? So I think a lot of people, there's just like a lack of consideration across the board in general society. I have something, a little tiny thing, not a big deal, but happening right now in my personal life, which is like, is this person even thinking about my situation at all? 99% of people aren't, unfortunately. So I do carry that mindset with me, and I think that shows on why the channel has been successful. So yeah, thank you. I appreciate that, and Merry Christmas. I think that's just the right way to go. That's the direction that we should be moving in if we want the world to be a better place. But hey, these are my thoughts and ideas, right? Everyone's different. Thank you, Lisa, for being a member. Big Dog Ken, and Lisa with the super sticker. Thank you so much. CC, Merry Christmas, and thank you for everything you do to keep us informed and healthy. So glad to be a part of this community. Thank you so much for your super thanks and for being here. You know, just being here is enough. Your energetic support, your connection, the vibration that we're building for everyone here watching this or having watched the channel before, regular viewers, that is really the key. So it's great. And have I looked into Apophis 2029 or 2032? Yes, I have. I did make a video discussing it a little bit, maybe about a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. But definitely I'll be making more videos on it. Thankfully, it's only 2025 right now. But yeah, I imagine I'll be making probably a lot of content on Apophis in 2029 just because, you know, they say it's not going to hit the Earth. We hope it doesn't hit the Earth based off of the orbital trajectories. But what we're seeing, for example, I mean, nothing here is definitive, okay? But look at the jets pumping off of this thing, right? Like there is an ability for objects in space to change in their orbit depending on what they're doing and their mass loss, non-gravitational acceleration. So we calculated that Apophis doesn't have a chance of hitting Earth, though it's slipping in between the moon and the Earth. It's getting very close. But let's say it does something different in the next like 2 years. Like just because we have calculations now, that doesn't say it's going to hit us. Doesn't mean I'm just going to say, hey, that's the only possibility. Like I think it's going to be worth watching very closely because it's a huge, huge, huge asteroid. So yeah, more on that with time. And a big super thanks from Shunzi, thank you so much for that. Really very appreciated. That is quite awesome. And also from DEI Akkad, thank you for the super sticker. And Charles for being a member. Jerry Daniels, thank you for the super thanks. And Lumpy K is asking, how does this alignment react with bioplasma and consciousness? I think it's more consciousness first and then maybe plasma second. So if we speak with what I believe and what there is thousands of years of history and observations to support, the planets have consciousness. Everything has consciousness. It's not just humans or humans, dolphins, and whales, and maybe chimps. Like everything has consciousness. Plants, bees, like everything, okay? The soil, the earth. The other planets have consciousness. They are super consciousnesses. They're macro consciousness compared to us. We're just tiny little amoebas compared to Jupiter, for example. It's much smarter than us. I remember when I was in Split, Croatia back in 2022, and there's a temple of Jupiter there. One of the original OG temples of Jupiter is in Split, Croatia. And so I was like, I'm going to go pray to the temple of Jupiter because I was working on my ebook and I wanted that to be a successful thing because money was super tight at that point. I didn't have a big channel, and every $10 sale was going to help pay for my hostel the next day. And so I did like a 2-minute prayer, and Jupiter's known for abundance and good luck and everything, fortune. So I did like a 2-minute prayer. I was like, Jupiter, you know, bring it in. I really hope for the best and give me a sign. Like an hour later, just within like an hour or two, very quickly after that, all of a sudden I find 50 bucks on the ground. It was 50 krona, so not 50 US dollars. It's like worth 10 bucks or so, but 50 krona on the ground. I scooped it up, and that paid for my cherries and also like my espresso that morning, something like that. But you know, you don't find money all the time. It's pretty rare. I find it actually pretty frequently. But most people, they can't even really remember the last time they found 20 bucks on the ground. That really felt like saying, hey, there's your sign. There's some good fortune. And I wrote that ebook like in 1 week. Like it just poured out of me. It came really quick. So there's consciousness to the planets. And when they all form this alignment, you know, you get this synergization of them. So it's very, very interesting. Mars is energy. Venus is relationships. And it's also finances. You have Jupiter making everything bigger, more abundant, inflating everything, giving you a sense of optimism and hope. The sun, solar consciousness that's being infused into us. Three-eye atlas with these interstellar awarenesses. That's bringing Pluto, power, deep transformative power, all these coming into alignment. Really, really interesting stuff. Big dog hen. And Hastings, physical world is sourced from non-physical plasma consciousness. Get to know your higher self. You also shed the fear of mortality. Faith can achieve this, but so can experience. We're not alone. We're out there. Yes, exactly. Exactly. I don't think I could have said it better myself. So yeah, it's just, you need to build a bit of a bridge to your 5-dimensional self, you could say, you know, the one that's not firmly rooted 100% in this material reality. Because once you do, there's a bit more energy flow between them. We're not born disconnected. You know, kids are very connected. It's society that disconnects us, whether intentionally or not. Society disconnects us from our intuition, our higher self, our higher spirit. If you rebuild that connection, then it all starts to make sense. And you start to feel the guidance and the flow, and the synchronicities start, and you get aligned on your path, and things will happen beyond your imagination. So it's not even worthwhile to set goals of like, oh, I want this goal. Let's say you're really 3D. You're like, I want this new job that's going to pay me 10% more. If I get 10% more, I can fend off the effects of inflation, right? But this job isn't meant to be your life purpose, right? You're gunning for it. Maybe you'll get that 10% job, but this is like a mental construct that's very limiting. If you open yourself up and follow your passion, your heart, and let spirit guide you, you may find yourself all of a sudden making money 500 times or 500% greater, like 5 times greater than before, because you've actually had this passion for art, and you're an artist, and then some famous artist retweets you, and all of a sudden everyone wants your artwork, and you're making way more now. Like, these things are possible when you're living that lifestyle. And I'm a personal example of that. I can speak to how my life is so much better now that I'm in alignment than it was before. It's quite a bit different though. You just have to be willing to accept the journey and the ride as it is and learn from it and go with that. So yeah, brilliant. A lot of super thanks. Wow. Amen. That's right. Okay. Thank you and praise Almighty Spaceman. Praise Jesus, Messiah for love, the Father of Yeshua. Yeah, today is the day, I guess, Jesus is born. So praise God for all the blessings and abundance that we have, and all those that have an extra special connection to Him. We all have that, though, right? It's not like there is this hierarchy that exists. Fundamentally, we are all one together, and we are all one of God. We are just different expressions of God. That's what I believe. So thank you for the super thanks. Grace is asking, in regards to solar activity and the earthquake that happened on the 8th, I was under the impression that can't be an immediate reaction, could take days. Can you clarify? Yeah, well, the solar flares, the solar storms, there's coronal hole high-speed streams. It's a lot to answer just with one question, but I go over it all the time if you watch my videos regularly. So solar flare is the light flux that hits. That's 8.3 minutes. That's the initial explosion, boom, the light radiation. Solar storm is the plasma that can be 400 kilometers per second, 800 kilometers per second, 1200 kilometers per second. That takes a couple of days, typically 2, 3, 4 days. It can be faster though. Coronal hole high-speed streams is where the solar wind is structured a certain way. As that sweeps over the Earth, it changes the energetics, the magnetic field, and more. So there's a lot of different variables. That's why it's not a clear-cut connection or relationship between them. But once you learn all of them, then you can kind of see how it starts to be this one for that one for that, and it's not every time either, but it's a complex system. So thank you for the super thanks. Big Dog Ken dropping money bombs in the chat. Thanks, bro. Sherry DeSantis, thank you so much. And Anthony with another one. Any news on the volcanic activity in Italy? Nothing really there in regards to earthquake activity. It's been normal, as in the recent time frame. Elevated as to 5 years ago, but normal for the recent time frame. No seismic burst like occurred. No seismic burst like occurred back in February of this year. So when there's updates on Campi Flegrei, you'll hear it from me. But until there's like a notable update, I'm not just going to make videos on it just to get you frightened or something. Big Dog Ken. Where is Ken from? Ken is he's not on my spaceship. He's on the mothership, baby. He's on the mothership. How do you view activity in the Canary Islands? Where are the Canary Islands? I'm not even sure. There's so many different island groups. Let's do a quick search for it. Oh, Spain. Okay. Oh, like Tenerife. Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's an interesting place. Certainly, some volcanism and such out there, but I don't have any strong thoughts right now as to the Canary Islands. Maybe something's happening there that I'm not aware of. I'll look into it. And California, just bought the hoodie. That's awesome. You're gonna love it. It's super comfortable. It's great. Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I'm glad I was able to get that out there. I wasn't sure I'd be able to publish that as merch, but Secret Owl, the moderator for the channel, he helped me to kind of tweak it a little bit to make it work. So I'm grateful to him. New members, and Amali with another question. Do you think 3i Atlas had anything to do with the massive hole in the sun? I don't, because we've been having them already, but it is lining up at the same time. So they are close together all at the same time, but I don't think it has anything directly to do with it. But, I don't know everything. But that seems to be a process that was unfolding way back into 2024. So that's been active for a while now, these big coronal holes. And Love Buzz, love is the answer no matter the question. Thank you, Stefan, for your service. That is correct. I really resonate with that. So thank you so much for your support, your thanks, and your love. That's great. LV555VL, thank you for the very generous super sticker. That is awesome. Merry Christmas to you. Blessings to you. And blessing everyone here in the live stream. Sending love and light to the universe. Thank you, Anne McPherson, for that. Member for 2 months. Boom, shakalaka. What condition is the part of the sun that was facing 3i Atlas during its perihelion? I'm sure it can be calculated, but has it been already? We would have to look at the sun, because that would be about it's about 5 days ago. But during its perihelion, that's way back to October 29th. So that's a while ago. I would have to look. That's kind of a complicated thing, but that's quite a few rotations. I mean, that's November. That's basically 2 solar rotations. So effectively, yeah, because that's most of November, and then, yeah, that's 2 solar rotations. So the part on the sun right now on the far side is effectively right where 3i Atlas was during its perihelion. So let's line back up again. Rough back of the napkin calculations. Thanks for the quid. I'll tug. To be honest, Loeb got me interested in space again, and thanks to 3i Atlas, I found you. Glad things turned out as it did. Yeah, so everything works in its own way. So I'm really just looking at things from where are certain people getting people interested in science and space and more, and if they are, then I consider that a good thing. Even if maybe they're not accurate with their information all the time or this or that, like ultimately the filtration that needs to be done will get done. People, if they're interested long enough, they'll learn the things to be able to know to spot what's wrong or right. But if you have initial curiosity that someone triggers that for you, even if maybe they're off base sometimes, which we all are from time to time, I think that's kind of, that's where I want to, that's where I'm moving my mindset to, rather than being angry or frustrated or upset. I think that's more important. Lumpy K, Lumpy K, Lumpy, Lumpy Dumpy, Humpty Dumpy, Lumpy. Surest readings are revert temple and researchers like Michael Levin on your friend, Robert Temple. Yeah, so, okay, so yeah, I think you're saying suggest people to look into Robert Temple, Michael Levin, or Eileen McCusick. Yeah, that's a good place to start. They have books out there on plasma, on vibration frequency. Michael Levin's a little bit more bio-focused, but seeing how electromagnetism can affect the behavior of cells and more, DNA expression, etc. So, yeah, I've read a lot of his research papers. Eileen McCusick's awesome. She's a good friend. And Robert Temple, he's a good guy. So, yeah, thanks for the recommendation, Lumpy. Humpty Dumpty. And Sacred Light, grateful for your integrity and brilliance, Stefan. I hope you go down in history as making these connections. It is helping us all wake up. I was thinking about that recently. I don't know what the history books will say if I'm ever in them, but I received a letter recently from a kid. It's like his mom helped him send it off, I guess. I don't know how they got my address, but either way. He's like, I'm 12 years old and I love your space show and I've learned so much from you. And so at the end of the day, what is happening is certainly a lot of people, older but also younger, are having this awakening interest in this. And some of these younger people, it will trigger something in them, and they may go to school and sign up in geology rather than business, or astronomy or whatever. And because they weren't told and programmed from the beginning that these connections don't exist, they're not going to take that with them for the rest of their life. Instead, they're going to be open-minded and explore these connections, which have basis to them, but the mainstream denies. And so I think that is going to be the biggest legacy. If I leave one at this moment in time, if I was drop dead tomorrow, that would be the biggest legacy that I would leave. It'd be the future generation that carries this forward in a very concrete way, not just through the efforts of me, one person, but through the efforts of thousands and thousands of people. So I think that's good enough already. I think that's great. It'd be great to be in the books, I guess, but I don't need to be. Like, it'd be great, but it's not. I don't need it. Okay, right? It's not like I need it. It'd be cool though. Paul, thank you for the super sticker. Merry Christmas. McGee, thank you so much. And the Golden Mother Daughter, thank you for the super thanks. And Big Dog Ken here, Romans 10:3, for whosoever shall call upon the name of the Lord shall be saved. Yeah, I will say that sometimes if I feel weird energies in like in a space, or just, I don't know, it's just like something's not good, I will call upon God, I'll call upon Saint Michael, and I'll call upon Jesus, and boom, the room gets cleared. Like the energy just instantly fortified and like cleansed. So I 100%, I use that I do that when needed all the time, and I think it's very valuable. Let's not forget our connection to higher source. So thank you for bringing in that awareness. Lisa Stevens with the super sticker, thank you so much. Jane with the super sticker, thank you as well. Another one from Lisa, boom, 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 shakalaka. Debbie Graham, thank you so much. Cosmic Zeal, who's a fun one. She's a fun one. Thanks for the super sticker. And Merry Christmas to you. Jana here, or Yana. Merry Christmas from Sao Paulo, Brazil to all. So obrigada, thank you so much. And parabéns, Merry Christmas. DEI Akan, thank you for your knowledge you gave us and shared with us. You're quite welcome. Very happy to load up a live stream on Christmas Eve for everybody, talk about these things. Annie, thank you as well for the super thanks. Roxy for the very generous super thanks. That is awesome. Thank you so much. Happy holidays. Thank you for all that you do. Happy holidays to you as well. All of yours. You've been a long-time supporter now. I don't know how long, but I recognize your profile picture, your face for quite some time now. So you've been around supporting the channel for a while, and not just me, but the community, right? Every single one of us is not just supporting, you know, my efforts or whatever, but it's creating the community. That's like the bigger thing here. Creating an open-minded, critically thinking, international community of individuals that's the direction we need to go. And we're doing it, so thank you. Gerald, thank you for the Geraldine, Mihok Lade, Geraldine Mihok Lade. You got an interesting name. Your last name is interesting. Thank you for the super sticker, the super thanks. Very kind of you. It's much appreciated. And Anna, Merry Christmas and thank you from San Diego. Well, I think the wind has slowed down. No, the wind's still going. I think the rain slowed down a bit, but enjoy the storm. It's coming in. And New York Giants for Life, do you believe in all these UFO conspiracy theories being put out on YouTube by a lot of YouTubers? No. There's a certain point where information and staying up to date on something is actually just turning into entertainment. So there's, okay, breaking news alert, let's say. And then there's, hey, the speculation. And then there's just like straight up entertainment where people are making stuff up. And because you're really wrapped up in something, you're going for it. And entertainment's not bad. It just depends on kind of its characteristics, and are you going to believe it, or are you going to see it just being kind of goofy and fun, right? Or is there some educational stuff within that? Like this is I would say this live stream is more on the infotainment side, right? We went through a lot of stuff, but it's more now in the Q&A, it's more infotainment. And that's not a bad thing if you want entertainment. But if this was some breaking news alert that occurred today, I would keep it structured to just like what's the actual straight info that you need right now. So that's the key. A lot of these UFO people are just now capitalizing on the interest that they built in these communities, and they'll take anything, you know, fake AI image, some nonsense story, and they'll run with it because it's a quiet day and they need to run with it. That's just kind of where we are with society right now in general. People not vetting their sources. There's a post I saw on X earlier about, you know, the moon is going to line up with Venus and Jupiter in the sky at the same time tomorrow. Venus is nowhere near Jupiter right now. Like the person didn't spend 2 seconds looking at a star map or even have the thought to do so. Venus it's not going to be near Jupiter until like spring or summer of 2026. So these people, but you know, it was a cool graphic, like a smiley face with the moon and the 2 eyes. And like, you know, they just wanted to post something to get engagement. It got like, you know, 1,000+ hearts on Twitter or X, whatever. But that's kind of where we are right now. And I think the UFO community is riddled with that, like much more so than most. So to answer your question, I pay attention to it, but I don't get lost in wasting my time on the 95% that's clearly just not really there. But there's stuff there, don't get me wrong. But 5% I would say is my number for that. And Ken dropping more money bombs, this time with another quote, "Now unto him that is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think, according to the power that worketh in us." Yeah. It's all possible through the power of God. It's good to be in touch with that. So thank you for that. Mary with a super sticker. We're getting close to the end of this list. This is a crazy list. It's a really long super thanks list. It just keeps going. Mary with the super sticker, thank you so much. Coffee Bean with the happy holidays. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas to you as well. Thank you as well. Enjoy your coffee. We have herb coffee on the website. And just to mention it quickly, if we go back here really quick, and I forgot to mention this earlier, everything's 5% off right now on the site. So you use the code THANKS Stefan, that's THANKS STEFAN. So it's all linked in the video description for 5% off everything till the end of the year. So just FYI, this is not like a long advert or anything, but if you want to pick up some of that Coffee Bean, you can do so if you're in the US. So thank you. Aloha from Maui. Keep doing your thing. Love and channel and the vibes. Yeah, it's all about the vibes. So thank you. And Maui's a great place. You're living the life. Lee, enjoy it. And Ciclaro Pero, thank you for the 20 euros. Thank you so much. Much appreciated. And from TechZite, thank you for the super sticker as well. Thank you so much. When's the Slurpalaka hoodie coming? There's no plans for that. Hopefully Slurpgate was a one-time thing. But thank you for the super sticker and happy holidays, Merry Christmas, and more. Cynthia, aloha from the home of Pele, creating new Earth. Mele Kalikimaka to all. Thank you so much. Yeah, Mele Kalikimaka. It's Merry Christmas in Hawaiian. So thanks for bringing in the good Big Island Hawaii vibes. Love it there. Great place. And you are blessed. Thank you. Alina, any thoughts on seismic activity in Romania, Eastern Europe? A big quake seems long past due, 7.3 and 77, 40, 50-year cycles. Okay. We can look at it really quick. Romania is quite active hydrothermally. There's some old systems there. So let's look at our earthquake catalog, just to get a sense of what you're talking about. This is not going to be a big analysis though. You said that was 7.3, so we'll set this to filter for 7. It's going to be a lot of earthquakes, but here we have them. Yeah. Okay. And we'll zoom into Europe, and yeah, it's interesting. You know, this makes sense because there's a lot of active geology there. But look at these clusters of big earthquakes in Romania here, folks. 7.7, 1940, 7.5, 1977, 7.2, 1986, 1990, 7.0. That's a pretty fast recurrence interval. What we have, yeah, and this is in order too as well. So they've been decreasing in strength as they've been getting closer in time, which is interesting. And now it's gone quiet for 36 years. Whereas these are only 4 years apart. Here it was only 9 years apart, and then this was 37 years. So that's interesting. You could almost look at this one. Actually, you can. Okay, here we go. So here's our 7.7. You have a 7.5, 7.2, 7.0. Those equate to about a 7.7, all right? If you were to add them up, that's basically, they would add up to about a 7.7. Not exactly, but you're getting close. At least, yeah, you're in that zone. Because a 7.7 is going to be about 3 times bigger than a 7.5. So, you know, this is considered one event if you look at it from that time scale across 13 years, 77 to 90. This has a recurrence interval of 37 years, and right now we're at the 35-year mark, right? Coming up on 36. So, yeah, that is interesting. And maybe Romania is due for another burst in that magnitude 7 range, anywhere in that 7.5 to 7.8 zone, maybe a little bit lower. You know, maybe it comes in like a triple sequence over a course of a decade or two. Who knows? But we don't have tons of data on this, so it's too hard. You can't establish definitively a recurrence interval, at least with this data. But it's certainly interesting. Thanks for bringing that to my attention. I didn't know that. Barbara Espinoza for the super sticker. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas and happy holidays from one of a mind. Thank you so much. Longtime supporter. Good to see you here. And Rachel with the super sticker. Thank you as well. Victoria saying she loves the new festivity. We're waiting for that to come back in stock because the ingredients have been really delayed on shipping, but we'll get them in before the end of the year, hopefully. So glad that you love it. It is really, really good. Excited to get that back in stock for everybody. Traveling Soul with 10 membership gifts. That's awesome. Denny with super thanks. Thank you so much. And the last one here, Traveling Soul. Thank you for your content, sharing your good vibe and knowledge with us. Happy Christmas time, Stefan. Well, thank you as well. Merry Christmas, happy holidays to all of you. And back in the normal chat now. And just making sure there's nothing crazy here to address. That. Okay, so that is it, folks. We will do a quick meditation to end, just to cap it off, and then enjoy the rest of your day. So let us get out a singing bowl. Any mistletoe? No mistletoe here. Someone's gonna have to jump on me with some mistletoe if they want anything to happen. Too stormy outside to want to go out now. But let's do a quick meditation using our favorite singing bowl here. So I recommend you get a comfortable position. Just kind of get comfortable, relax, in the mood, in the groove. You know, the parasympathetic system, there's the sympathetic system, the parasympathetic system. This is the two types of activity for the autonomic nervous system. Sympathetic is fight or flight. Most people know this. Parasympathetic is rest and digest, but the other way you could say is also the feed and breed. So it activates all those things. So you want to be nice and relaxed if you want to have fun in life. So we're going to do just that. This singing bowl here is for the crown chakra. And just want you to remember that we are truly blessed in the fact that we can reprogram ourselves. With enough consciousness, we can be aware of the patterns that exist and choose to break them, to reformat them, to rewire our brain, our heart, our soul. That we do have a level of free will. Destiny seems to propel us along certain paths, but free will is how do we walk those paths? Do we run? Do we jump? Do we shiver in fright? But fear is what holds you back, stops you from making the change, for accepting defeat. Inspiration is what drives you forward, allows you to completely, radically transform who you are, such that you realize your old personage was actually not you, but merely a stepping stone to your highest expression. Don't be afraid to change. Don't be afraid to move on from places and people and more in your life. Live who you are authentically, and everything will come into alignment. That is the physics of resonance. Thank you all so much for joining me today. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, all the things, Saturnalia. It is just a very powerful time spiritually already this time of year, and then you add in everything else that we talked about today, and well, it is a powerful moment. We are in the thick of it. So wishing all of you well, have a beautiful day, friends, and I'll see you all very, very soon. Thanks so much. Bye for now.